Good afternoon and happy Tuesday, everybody. It's very nice to see you here today, and we have a very interesting show for you today. It is not going to feature negative sentiment about the cannabis industry, Edward. I think the cannabis industry has gone through enough of a shaggin' and would like to be basically treated with a little respect now.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to do. We're going to treat the cannabis industry as if it's going much higher.
You know what? Let's pretend today is November 19th, 2017. Woo! Look at these stocks grow.
Wow,
holy
man.
smokes.
Did you think that we'd ever see canopy growth at
I certainly didn't. I feel like I
$7
really missed
a
the
share?
boat. I really missed the boat.
Yeah, anyways. So, no, we can't do that because that would just be living in a fantasy world. We don't live in a fantasy world.
Nope.
We live in the real world. Well, arguably, we live in the real world.
It seems like it's getting interesting. You know, CN went on strike last night, CN Rail.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 3,000 people walked off, mainly conductors,
CN,
engineers.
doesn't that stand for Canadian
National Railway.
Well, how didn't you CNR?
What?
You said CN.
CN, Canadian National Railway.
Oh, I thought that was CNR.
Yeah. Okay,
Anyways,
good point. Give me another drink.
We really stoop and dig for humorous tidbits here. We're not that funny.
But they were just about to lay off 1,600 people. And usually when they go on strike, they talked about this, the CFO, I guess, was being interviewed, and she said, you know, well, a lot of our capacity on our oil transporting enterprise is
not making any money.
well, it's not transporting as much oil as it used to. Like,
Why not?
you know, I look
The
at
people
oil.
aren't buying the oil?
Oil's down almost $2 a barrel today.
Why?
I guess because
Saudi Aramco's going public?
I guess the rumor's out that they found these nodules in the ocean.
The nodules?
The nodules.
Not those freaking nodules
nodules.
again. Anyways, yeah,
Okay.
60 Minutes. If you watch 60 Minutes on Sunday, go to cbsnews.com and punch in, what is it called? Deep green metals. And there's a story there about a mining company that is planning to extract nodules off the bottom of the ocean. And company so far has raised $17 million bucks at 95 cents a share. It's all a Frank Juster deal. And so that means that it's probably going to get mined. But they have a 43101 report out.
Yeah.
And the 43101 numbers are like, wow, eye-popping. Like 1.2% nickel, I believe, 1% copper, 30% manganese, and 0.14% cobalt. Everything you need for a battery.
Cobalt.
And everybody here was confused because they thought they were saying that you could just pull these things out of the ocean and put them in your car, and boom, you're good to go.
Like your instant they're already a battery.
They're like, fill her up. Yeah. Can I get 50 bucks worth of nodules, please? Anyways, it's quite an interesting story. So you should check it out on cbsnews.com. You can watch the whole episode, and it's really interesting stuff. What else?
Weed has had a big move today. Weed has had a big day today.
Weed had a big day today.
Yeah, it's up 5%, I believe.
No kidding.
5, 6, 7%.
Oh, you don't say.
Yeah.
Today on the show, we're going to have Lars Lean and Quinton Martin here from Luckbox. This is all in commemoration of our New Wave Esports segment that is going to be every Tuesday. Daniel Mitri is going to join us from New Wave. And then Rob Goff from Echelon Wealth Partners is going to be here to talk about esports. And this is your esports episode of Midas Letter RAW. Right, Ed? Right. So get ready for a raw experience on Midas Letter RAW.
Rah, 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 like a cheerleader. Rah, rah, rah.
Raw. No, like a monster. And anyway, so yeah,
Okay.
so cannabis news today. What happened in the cannabis space? Well, 360 Solutions reported Q3 revenue 8.6 million with a net loss of 2.5 million or 2 cents a share. That's not bad when you compare, to some of the reports we've been seeing. Revenue of 8.6, they lost 2.5. That makes sense to me.
Well, and remember, there's non-cash items there. So if you take out the non-cash items, non-cash being you're not spending money, but it's still a loss. Like depreciation. You've already spent the money on depreciation.
Really?
So when you depreciate in the current year, it's a non-cash item. So there's an expense because you didn't write off the whole thing when you bought it.
Right.
Even though the cash went.
Wow. That's a very erudite.
Amortization, depreciation, depletion. All those things are non-cash items. Duh.
Boy, I didn't realize you were so smart. What did you eat? A smart pill or something this morning?
Smart pearl.
Boy, what the? You've been hiding this all...
Anyway, you know what? I did study accounting.
Are you on the wagon? The only time I know you to be this articulate is when you're on the wagon.
Oh, Banks called me. I wonder why.
Bank called me today, too.
Oh, they must be in cahoots.
Cahoots?
Cahoots.
I think they're in Toronto, aren't they?
No, Cahoots is up in BC somewhere.
Guess what I have here?
You have all the news.
No, I have a financial statement.
Whose is it?
Guess whose?
Whose?
Trulieve Cannabis Corp.
Okay, let's see. Now, this is supposedly the one company that everybody keeps talking about. I think they're up to about 40 dispensaries in Florida. Is that correct?
Do you remember what they reported last quarter in income? 52 cents a share in income for last quarter. Uh-huh. You want to know what they report in this quarter? 55 cents a share, motherfucker. Woohoo! Truly, that's why it was our #1 pick in 2020. Wait, 2020 hasn't happened yet. What? So if you look at the, so here's the truth. Okay, let's just speak rationally. The only companies that cannabis investors should be owning right now are Trulieve, Curaleaf, Green Thumb Industries, and Charlotte's Web. Why? Why?
There's probably a few others too. I mean, you can't.
That's it.
Sort of black and white statement you're making.
I know. I'm going to get backhanded with the ugly stick from all the Canadian guys who have been clients. They're like, what the fuck did that motherfucker just say that only these 4 American companies should be? What the fuck we paying that loser for? Anyways, those are the only American companies that you should own. I think that you should own some Canadian ones as well. I think everybody should own Canopy Growth. But I don't think you should pay more than $4 a share for it. Whoa! Did I just say that? No, take it back. Oh my God!
You know, Trulieve came out with the results, but is the stock up or down today?
What do you think? We bought 55 cents a share. What do you think that's not going to do? It's going to go up, motherfucker. Jesus.
Oh yeah, I see it there now. Yeah.
Yeah. Look.
Yeah. Well, it's flat. It looks like it's flat today.
Oof. It's up 34 cents, Edward. It's a 15.26.
Okay.
It is the most supreme outlier in the universe. This is
run by a lady.
Kim Rivers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kim Rivers is she is our vote for cannabis CEO.
I wonder is her husband the quarterback for the San Diego Chargers, Philip Rivers?
You trying to change the topic here?
Okay, what do we got?
No, her husband's got some problems, but let's not dwell on that. It's like we got to bring up her success and immediately go to his problem. No, I don't think so. We're not doing that.
Well, that just happens to be the name of a famous quarterback.
Oh!
Rivers. I'm just making a...
Oh! Okay. You're making shit up.
Like they played last night on Monday Night Football.
Oh!
San Diego played Kansas City.
Was Kim there?
No, but Philip Rivers he had a rough night. Every time they were close to scoring...
Oh, you watched the game?
I watched. I got home, and I turned it on because it's kind of relaxing.
Put down any filthy lucre on the game?
No, I don't have any filthy lucre to bet anymore.
Do you have any clean lucre?
No, little lucre is filthy.
You're lucreless. I thought you had a trading account rolling.
Well, it's
got wiped out.
No, not wiped out. But I've made a decision, and in the last 2 days, I've been wrong.
Oh.
It's not a big deal, but I'm convinced I'm right, so I'm going to try and bear it out here. Let's see.
All right.
Okay.
It would be probably fortuitous and astute to pull up a Trulieve chart just to give everybody who's not holding Trulieve a reason to think about it.
Well, here it is today. Look at this. This is looks like a 6-month chart, 3-month chart, 3-month chart. It's moved from about $11, $10.50. You see that chart there? Look.
That doesn't look like a cannabis chart to me. That looks like
It's pretty impressive.
that looks like a technology company chart. So okay, so we do have now is Trulieve's report sufficient to turn the tide in the cannabis industry?
No.
You don't think so?
No, everybody's being looked upon now.
Second consecutive quarter.
Yeah, but that's them.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean just
It's a
because they
cannabis
do
company.
it. Yeah, it doesn't mean just because they're making money doesn't mean the other ones are.
But at least there's a company out there that we can point to, that we can say this company consistently earns money for its shareholders.
Right. Right.
That's what we can say.
Consistently, you can say they've done it over a couple quarters.
Well, jeez.
That's how it starts, though. You know what? They seem to be running a business the way it should be run. And CWeb is close to what, 14 or something like that.
Okay, I'm going to take a look now for any of those. Let's see. Fair value adjustment on inventory sold. They took a $23 million hit. Fair value adjustment on growth of biological assets, $90 million.
So what? You know what? I hate it when I see them. They've made more money than their revenue, or they've made as much money, because that's impossible. And so it's an accounting adjustment that gets thrown into the mix, and they report it as some. And people that aren't, shall we say, they're not
Sophisticated.
in the accounting area, think, wow, look at this.
Yeah.
But it's not really about cash, is it?
Well, so their gross profit is $110 million as a result of accounting for biological assets at $90 million. So in other words, two-thirds, three-quarters of their revenue.
Yeah, but that's because inventories went up dramatically, right? From 24 million to 144 million. That's 120. That's all because of growth, right? They're saying.
So, but this is the thing here. If you're operating in a market that's now saturated, you got 4 major players in the state of Florida, and you putting all that hemp you just acquired onto your balance sheet as biological asset at top dollar, that ain't right. That ain't right, Edward.
But don't you think the accountants would
No,
say, hey.
accountants, you know yourself, Edward, those accountants are complicit and duplicitous and generally, not to be trusted.
Will you be talking in a Polish accent if we were growing marijuana in Poland right now?
Da.
Da?
Da. That's my Polish accent. It sounds just like my German accent, or no, my Russian accent.
You know what the Polish word for if somebody says something and you agree, you say, talk.
Talk. Dobsha.
You know what they say in Denmark? Tag. Like, there's a lot of these words around there.
You know what they say in Iceland? Yo.
Oh, yeah.
Yo.
Is that what they say?
Yo.
Oh.
You know what you say when the conversations come to a lull in Iceland?
What?
Yeah, yo. Really, it's quite the funny thing. Anyways, I love Icelandic people. I grew up with an Icelandic stepfather who actually ended up hating my guts, but the feeling was mutual, so
How long did it take you to make him hate you?
Well, I stole his car and smashed it up, so I guess that's took,
where it started?
About an hour, yeah. At that point, he realized
as
that
he drove over, he'd say, leave the keys in the thing, it's safe here.
No,
and
actually,
he comes around the
here's
house.
the kind of devious little prick I was. I had a key made at a hardware store one time without their knowledge for both their cars.
Oh. In case one's gone, you got the other one.
I was a very evil child, just so you know. I don't want to make any pretensions about the fact that I didn't actually get
What's a good synonym for evil?
Evil? Dastardly?
How about pernicious?
Pernicious. Vile. Pernicious. Pernicious, yeah. Evil.
Dr. Evil.
Rapacious?
I don't know. Rapacious isn't a word I use very often, but it doesn't have a positive.
Can I get you a glass of rapacious? No, yes. Anyway, so we were talking about the cannabis industry today in glowing terms. Congratulations to Trulieve for pulling off another, albeit financially engineered, positive quarter. Now, the question that we have to ask ourselves, and if we can get Kim Rivers into the studio, girls in the control room, try to get Kim Rivers on the phone for a Skype, is I would like to know exactly the nature of those biological assets. There is a reference to Note 4. Do we have Note 4 here? If somebody could print me up Note 4 from the financial... Beautiful!
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Beautiful!
She's beautiful. Oh,
anyways, let's run through some other news.
Somebody just got a $25 million credit facility. Or maybe that was yesterday.
Right.
I'm reading the news.
Right.
As I should.
The Flower Corporation announced today that they closed a $25 million credit facility.
Talk. That's what you say. That's what I'm trying to do.
Yo.
Okay, I'm now from Denmark. Take.
Yo.
Take.
Yo. Alephia Health's Foil Edge Academy launched its cannabis education courses at a major post-secondary institution. You know what I used to do at post-secondary institutions? I don't think I should say because I might run for office one day.
But didn't you?
I used to sell drugs
run away
there.
from? You're the local dealer?
I was the local dealer. You know what? I went to a school in St. Catharines, Ontario that was such a brown-noser school. It was very academic. My mother made me go there because she didn't want me to go to the local hoodlum school, which at that point was West Park Secondary, because she was afraid that I would turn into a little gangster, which I promptly became at Sir Winston Churchill, recruited a few otherwise well-meaning students who went on to become public figures, shall we say. And we used to take up a collection before lunch. Everybody who wanted to get high at lunch had to give me $2, and then we'd go down to Governor Simcoe School and buy an ounce of weed, come back, roll it all up into joints, and we'd get 2 free ones out of that because we'd get 30 joints.
So that's how you sort of became a businessman. Like you realized, hey, I pay for 18, get 2 free.
I think I've sold more cannabis and mushrooms than I have stock in my lifetime. But I've given up on the drugs.
When I was working with Dana and a few other people back at Yorkton, we came up with this thing of, have you talked to your broker, like, about 1082. So you bought 10 shares of something, you sold 8, and you kept the other 2 for free because the market was so hot. I'm not making this up.
Really?
1082. It's like what you were doing. Well, you were doing it with marijuana joints. We were doing it with shares of stock.
See? Everybody's in commerce.
Yeah.
Commerce is in the blood of every Canadian.
1082.
1082.
Buy 10, sell 8. But you know what eventually would happen? You bought 8. There was you sold them and you still owed money to the firm. Anyway, it only works for a while, eh? No matter what gig you got going.
Yeah, well, you know what? Because if it's really working well, other people fill in, and next thing you know, it's too competitive, the margins disappear, and you got to go find something else to do.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we go. $62.4 million are cannabis plants. Now, the biological assets are measured at fair value less costs to sell until harvest. All production costs related to biological assets are expensed as incurred. All direct and indirect costs related to both biological assets and inventory are included in the cost of goods sold line on the accompanying condensed consolidated interim statement of operations. Anyways, the fair value measurement for biological assets have been categorized as level 3 fair value based on the inputs of the valuation technique used. The fair value was determined using a model which assumes biological assets at the condensed consolidated interim statements of financial position date will grow to maturity, be harvested, and converted into finished goods, inventory, and sold in the medical cannabis market. The company's method of accounting for biological assets attributes value accretion on a straight line basis throughout the life of the biological asset from initial clothing to the point of harvest. Edward, interpretation, please.
I'm going to...
what does that mean? What does it mean? What does it mean?
Well,
I don't know what that means.
You don't know what it means, and I couldn't understand what you were saying.
What?
Yeah, I
don't speak English, boy? What the hell matter with you?
What are you on?
What am I on?
Oh, you know what? A guy used to say when someone started acting a little funny, like a little delusional or crazy, he used to say, you look at him and he'd say, what the fuck is wrong with you? Anyway.
I'm just in a good mood.
Okay, good. No,
Yeah.
you know what? I'm going to really take a look at this, and I'm going to look at it. But I thought they were just operating dispensaries. I didn't realize they were growing as well.
Where do you think they're going to get their weed from? Do you think they're buying it off the black market?
Well, you're growing it.
Well, that's
in
true,
small
but I'm not
quantities.
selling it to anybody.
Oh, it's good stuff I hear.
What do you mean you hear? You've been smoking more than anybody.
But I got the CBD shit. I want the THC stuff. Bring it. Give me some THC stuff.
Oh, okay. I have a jar of THC stuff at home. I have a little bit left because that's the kind everybody apparently wants. They want, give me that high THC.
Maybe what you should do is start giving me a sort of some inventory to like go down the street and pound like back in high school. Like, okay?
Oh, no.
The numbers are much bigger now.
No. I don't. I have no interest in selling drugs. And cannabis is a drug. Despite what everybody says. Like, that's what we used to call them in school. Hey, man, you going to Governor Simcoe today to get us some drugs, you loser?
In university, you could buy an ounce of pot for $20. And I think sometime I've paid this was in university, right? An ounce.
Duh.
Like that was a long time ago.
$20,
I don't even know
paid $50 an
I know,
ounce.
because I'm a lot older than you.
Mind you, back when you went to university, the only weed you could get in Canada generally was Mexican. And that wasn't worth anything more than $20. It had all the seeds and the stock in
Acapulco
it.
Gold had the nice little...
Acapulco Gold, though, was $50 an ounce.
Yeah.
You didn't get Acapulco Gold at $20 an ounce.
No?
You only got Mexican.
Well, we did.
No.
Yes, we did, but you weren't born then. So how the hell would you know? Juno. The Juno Awards.
What do you mean I wasn't born when you went to university? How old were you when you went to... Oh, yes. How old are you?
I skipped a few grades.
How old are you right now? No lying.
68.
68. So I'm 56. So you're only...
12 years old when I started in grade 7. Yeah, grade 7.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't buying. Sorry? How many ounces did I grow? Oh, gosh. Well, that's... that would take some tallying. We didn't grow ounces. We grew pounds. Pounds and pounds and pounds. I think, let's see, I think that we would grow on average, we'd get about 4 or 6 pounds a crop. I wasn't actually a great grower because I was too much of a party animal, and so I was going out till 6 in the morning every night and coming home and sleeping in till like 6 the next night and then going out.
Is that tantamount to having your hand in the cookie jar?
Very much so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
You're just sort of a party guy.
Well, I used to be a real nut bar. In fact, I didn't even start working till I was like 35
A
years
nut
old.
bar as opposed to a chocolate bar?
Yeah. Whack job, some would say. Party animal, drug fiend. Sex and drugs and rock and roll, that's all I cared about till I was about 35. Yeah. All I cared about. I lived and worked at ski resorts and grew cannabis and magic mushrooms, sold them at rock concerts across the country all summer long. That was my misspent youth. While you were going to university and paying too much for Mexican weed, I was selling weed across.
I remember this. I bought an ounce of pot from this guy, and he was he looked like a swarthy kind of guy. Like he just didn't, anyway, to make a long story short, I might as well have been smoking, what's that spice they compare marijuana to? Oregano.
Oh, oregano. Okay.
Yeah, so like I'm sure, I mean, he says, yeah, this is good stuff. Nothing. And after you buy an ounce of pot and you get nothing, you feel like you've been ripped off.
No kidding. All right, enough about the cannabis industry and my extracurricular financial generation schemes. We're going to move into the world of esports now. Daniel Mitri joins us for the weekly New Wave Esports update.
Game begin.
We're back with the New Wave Esports Weekly Esports Update. I'm here with Daniel Mitri, CEO of New Wave Esports. Dan, welcome back.
Thank you, James.
What does the runway look like for the growth of the industry? What's it worth now? What's it going to be worth in 5 years?
Well, a lot of that is speculative based off of revenue projections. I'm not at liberty to necessarily talk about our portfolio because all our companies are private, but we have broken those down to really understand how esports makes money. And so if you look at teams, anywhere from 50 to 80% of revenues come from sponsorships and ads. So you have a team, they need to be creating a content programming nucleus. And it's that attracts the audiences. And those are the eyeballs that you sell to sponsors. That's ultimately how you're getting that 50 to 70% revenue driver. And as long as you have that audience there, then you're latching on other content programming. You could get that audience out to an event. And then as the audience comes out to events, there's our event organizers. They're selling more sponsorship for, say, Red Bull plastered all over a stage. You're selling tickets and ticket sales. You've got merch completely, going out from all the vendors that you have on site. You have catering. So everything is very much reliant on each other and very much interweaved in this whole ecosystem that we talk about.
Okay, so esports as an investment category then has more or less emerged from electronic games and gaming, and certainly young people these days spend a great deal of their time gaming. So it seems to me that this has the potential to be as big as the electronic gaming space over time, and again, speculatively, of course. So where do you see the strongest growth right now? Like, where is the money being made?
So your first point, the traditional gaming audience is 2.5 billion gamers worldwide, and that's pulling in the revenues are absolutely phenomenal. So the revenue, there's a 200 billion revenue projection over this next couple of years. Esports fits within that with a 1.9 billion revenue projection. And so where do some of the biggest opportunities lie? Teams are pulling in the biggest top line revenues. But not all teams are profitable. Why is that? It's because it takes a lot of money to sustain your teams. You've got salaries for all your players. You've got your management teams that you need to pay. You have rent space. You have team houses in which you're training your players. You're making sure that they're healthy, that their cerebral and dexterity and their motor skills are on point. So there's a lot of money that goes into having your athletes perform at their optimal best. But those companies that also latch on the audience viewership and understanding how their athletes are personalities that people latch onto. The LeBron James of the esports world,
right.
The Tom Brady's. These are young stars that are coming up in esports, and there are communities behind them that want to spend their hard-earned money to engage with these athletes. So.
Sure.
So teams are certainly an interesting one to look at, especially with the franchise models coming through.
Yep.
And we can spend a little time on that too.
Okay.
You look at Bobby Kotick, CEO of Activision. He's considered esports and their program a 10-year play here to really see that come to full fruition. And so you have $20 million buy-ins on, say, the Overwatch League. And where do we start to see the profitability? I think that's going to be coming in over the next 2-3 years as audience sizes grow. You have more franchise buy-in, and they start to see the revenues distributed across all the teams within the franchise. And then it's up to those teams to work independently to bring in their own revenues and contribute to the franchise distribution pool. And so that's where a lot of these franchise models are very interesting to investors. Where is this going to lie? And I think that's sort of this, the epicenter of esports right now is modeling the traditional sports model.
So to what extent is winning key to profitability in the whole team ecosystem?
From my perspective, you should never guarantee your revenues based off of prize winnings, because those are not guaranteed streams. I think those should be supplemental income. So you need to build in an actual business practice that's unreliant, not dependent on those prize winnings. But certainly, when you do land an incredible prize purse, that's going to help your revenues and expand your organization. But
Sure.
that is the competitive nature of esports. You may be hot this year, you may have an incredible athlete, but then that athlete might get a better deal and they go and go to another team, and now you lost your star player. So don't bank on your prize purses, but use it as supplemental income.
Interesting. All right, we're going to leave it there for now, Daniel. We'll come back to you again next week. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you, James.
Welcome back, Ed Milewski here. I'm just, I'm looking at the S&P. It's at all-time highs. There isn't much that's on all-time highs in the world, in the equity markets. And the American banks are near all-time highs, JP Morgan. And Deutsche Bank, which is the biggest bank in Germany, is having a rough time. There's a lot of things that don't add up.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't say.
That's what I say. I say, look
Look at
for
this. How's
instance,
this from a blast from the past?
look at this.
Look at this. Look at this.
Look at this
Let's
cake.
see there. Hold up your cake. So this cake,
Can you have your cake and eat it too?
well, we're about to. This cake is from a stand in the mall downstairs in the concourse. What's it called? Cake Boss from Carlos Bake Shop, and
Cake
people
Boss.
are lining up down the hall for this cake every day.
Apparently, all the other stores in Toronto are closing because this
Cake
one
Boss
cake,
is taken over.
everything. That's what everybody
So
wants.
we decided that we'd get some, and we're going to try it. Ed, would you like to try the gay cake? Come on, Edward, have some gay cake. It's so sweet. It's so much better than the masculine cake.
Pilgrim.
You want some masculine cake, Ed? Or
You want some gay cake, Ed? Try the gay cake, Ed. It's so much better than
the masculine cake, man? Have some masculine cake, Ed. I'll eat the gay cake.
I can't. You know what? I'm on a strict diet.
You're on a strict
My body's
diet.
a temple. There's a lot of sugar in this.
body's a temple.
Okay, let's just see what the caloric information here is. Okay.
All right.
Only 430 calories in here.
Well,
Only
you're not going to eat the whole thing.
Yes, I am. Red velvet.
She makes 4,300 a day. Cakes?
What?
Wow.
And isn't
So
it
this
funny?
machine generates $4,300 every single
Well,
day.
I'm going to save this for the. You know what? I'm going to donate my share of the cake to the production crew.
You can't. It sells out twice a day.
What?
You have to try it.
I can't.
You can't try one mouthful of this cake. That's why I went
Well,
and
it's
got
just,
coffee.
I'm afraid I'm going to make a mess.
Look at super gay cake.
Okay.
It's
Open wide.
I'm getting super gay with
Hey.
each mouthful.
Open wide.
I'm gonna have to start wearing a dress to work tomorrow. I'm gonna eat with my pinky out like this.
Really?
I'm gonna pinch your ass every time you sit down. You're not gonna be able to handle it. You're gonna hashtag me too, He-Man. Anyways,
Okay. What do you think? Here, try some of this.
that one has what I would call a lot of sugar, man.
No. Listen. Okay, what's the caloric value?
Load?
here? The load. Hey,
Red cake, red velvet cake.
red velvet cake. Woo.
Oh, this should be interesting. Now, what flavor would red be? Grapes? No.
No, it's
Apple?
red velvet. Probably. Let's see. What would red would be like? Pepper? Red peppers?
Oh my.
Nice.
Oh.
You know what? There's a word. I think it's cloy. When something is cloying, like you eat enough of something sweet, and you have this overwhelming feeling of. It's cloying. I don't know how else to say it, but I think it refers to some eating excessive sugary foods. Cloy, not Troy, not Helen of Troy, but Helen of Cloy.
I'll tell you what. I've mitigated the effects of the gay cake with the He-Man cake, so I'm basically back to normal now. But wow, that is so rich. Have you noticed that there's a real propensity towards excess in our junk food lately? Like the sweet stuff, like it used to be Tim Hortons made donuts that were not necessarily so sweet. They were more emphasis on spices and fruit and everything.
Trying to make them healthy.
But since Krispy Kreme moved into the market, all of the Tim Hortons donuts have become like these syrupy nightmares of goopy, droopy, sweet, sugary yuck that I can't even go in there anymore without almost shitting my pants just thinking about it.
Shit in your pants.
Shipping my pants, Edward.
You're
shipping
Yeah, okay.
my pants.
I think James wants to ship his pants.
I just
You eat
did
enough,
ship
you
my
eat enough of
pants.
that cake, you'll be shipping your pants, I'll tell you.
I know, that's why I think I did just
but
ship
you know
my
what?
pants.
That's okay because you'll have a nice sort of reprocessed
Who doesn't want to ship their pants?
cake in
Don't
your
you want to
pants.
ship your pants? I want to ship my nightie. I want to ship my nightie. Anyways, let's get back to reality here. So we had, that was our first segment for the
day, the show.
That was Daniel Mitri from New Wave Esports. Check them out. NWES is the symbol. Full disclosure, they are a client of the media division. We will be producing video for them covering their segment for a year. Rob Goff from Echelon. What the hell is wrong with me?
Echelon.
Rob Goff is the head of research at Echelon Wealth Partners, and he also has some interesting things to say about esports companies trading on the public markets. I'm joined now by Rob Goff. He's the head of research and a managing director at Echelon Wealth Partners. Rob, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me on.
You bet. Rob, the esports phenomenon is descending upon us. Tell me about how investors can involve themselves in it, and what's the state of the industry right now?
Sure. At this point, it's to an extent an education process, in that in terms of direct plays on the space in Canada, it is limited. There's enthusiast gaming, and there's also the score. And then the majority of the companies are private. So what we have done with Echelon is to launch a white paper. If you have hours to kill, we have 82 pages for you.
Great.
In that we try to take what's really, really complex and distill it down into the basic food chain.
Okay.
At the top of the food chain, you have the publishers, the Tencents, the Riot Games. These are the manufacturers, per se, of the games that your kids are playing. So they then are now trying to build up league structures and teams within the leagues as a way of increasing their audience. Like audiences to date, for some of the games, the championship series actually rivaled the Super Bowl.
Really?
So the viewership is out there and just growing.
Wow.
In terms of the actual size of the marketplace, you know, you've got the legacy sports is roughly a $500 billion marketplace. Video gaming is a $150 billion market. Esports specifically, 1.1 billion with a very quick CAGR on that. Now, when we look at this space, we think it's really important for investors to go through the food chain, right? And what's critical here is that the interests are aligned in that the publishers make money off of expanding the audience, right? So they are giving out free games. So they make their money off of in-game purchases. So clearly price and volume. So they want to get more people, more engaged people in their respective games in order to drive their own revenues. So to do that, to build the audience, they are working to build out league structures and teams within that in an effort to build out that audience. Now, you probably watch your esports through Twitch, you know?
Right. Yes.
Twitch, it's interesting. It has roughly 76% of the market in terms of providing that platform for gaming enthusiasts to watch their favorite streamer. One of our core calls here with respect to the space is that Amazon, who owns Twitch at 76%, they dominate. YouTube is there with 16.6%, and then you have Microsoft with Mixer, and you have Facebook, and they're both down around 3 and 4%. And this point here is really the battleground for the Titans, right? So you've got Amazon, who no one likes to fight with, but if you're Microsoft, you can't stay below 5%. If you're Facebook, you don't want to stay below 5%. So we see increased competition to get the streamers onto the different streaming platforms. The highest profile one, someone Ninja.
Right.
You know, the rumors are that he was offered between $50 and $100 million to move over to the Mixer platform.
Right.
The theory being he would pull his audience, his streaming onto that platform, and they would see a return on that money.
And how's that worked out for them so far?
Initially, he had over 2 million people move over. So that is the start of more to come.
Right.
And you know, we are certain that there will be more competition. The question is, to what extent is it the upfront, we will pay you X, or to what extent is it we will pay you a payout ratio of 60% on advertising or merchandising, as opposed to a lower rate. So if you're right here as a platform distributing, you want traffic.
Right.
To get traffic, you will entice the streamers to come onto your platform, which brings the audience. This is ultimately a new form of media, and as such, it's a media where advertising is key. So you want to get the audiences up, and you also want to monetize on those audiences. Fortunately, it's very much an over-the-top or a digital transmission or an IP transmission, and this development of the marketplace is coinciding with advertising going to digital distribution. So 2019 was the first year that we'll see over half of advertising placed digitally. And with that, the fastest growing segment would be that which is programmatic digital advertising. So basically, when you go onto a website, information about you is put into an exchange, and people will bid on you. That's how you are getting relevant advertising, and that's how you also bring value to the advertiser.
Sure.
So this move towards digital and programmatic advertising coincides with the build out of esports on a platform that happens to be digital, that facilitates in with the programmatic purchasing.
So playing digital programmatic advertisers is a way to play esports.
It would be.
Fantastic.
One of those names would be Acuity Ads, which would be under our coverage.
Sure.
Yes.
We've interviewed Acuity. Okay, and so has that actually materialized as revenue for Acuity Ads at this point?
It is materializing.
I see.
Right. This is still very much early days, but what we're trying to do is to identify the players who are best positioned to leverage on the growth of the audience. Because the product here is really the audience, and the means by which you monetize would be advertising, merchandising, promotion, events.
Wow. So it's a whole new ecosystem that seems to exist in parallel to the real world.
It was interesting. I can remember going back probably 6 years ago, where there was a survey taken of youth, and they asked the youth to assess a value to their virtual friends and their live friends.
Right.
And the value attributed to virtual friends was staggering, and this was 6 years ago. So when you fast forward to esports, where youths or millennials are playing as part of game teams, it really takes it one step further.
Sure. Interesting.
And also on technology there too. The technology is a powerful wave behind this.
Right.
We were talking earlier about that. And basically there, the games themselves that are in the marketplace today versus 3 years ago or 13 years ago are night and day different, very much more immersive, much more dynamic, entertaining for the user of those games. Technology has both enabled greater data throughput, but also broader reach. And when we're looking at the cusp of 5G being introduced, right, that's where everything will go mobile, full coverage, full bandwidth capabilities. There's just a lot of tailwinds or waves behind the growth here in the esports. That's why we're excited.
So 5G adds to the esports equation. Esports fuels the 5G argument as well, I'm assuming. The whole programmatic advertising thing and the individual as nothing more or less than a commodity to be marketed to is intriguing. So essentially it sounds like the way to play esports is to look at all of the sectors upon which our technological universe is now built, and you're going to play it as a subset of those. If an investor wanted to play something that would be more of a pure play on esports itself, I guess then it's limited to like how far down into the ecosystem can you go as an investor to direct investment directly into the esports gaming itself?
Enthusiast gaming, then we also have the Score, where they're involved in esports. They're also very much involved in gambling.
That's right.
And gambling's a whole other dimension.
Right.
Where it's put forward that if the esports today is a $1.1 billion marketplace, that gambling itself could be another $1 billion within 3 years
Sure.
associated with esports.
Right. And
The benefit there, of the gambling is both in terms of the incremental revenues associated with gambling, but we started off talking about the audience and the engagement. You put money on the line, you are engaged.
that's right. That's probably the most profound engagement there is. Rob, let's finish off because we've run out of time, but Echelon has a great track record of identifying early stage opportunities, and your most recent publication demonstrates some wins. What are the top picks that you've got in this universe or others at this point?
Sure, thanks. And just to the numbers there, like our firm runs a top pick portfolio, which is give or take 12 names selected by the analysts. We're very fortunate in the third quarter to return 10%. Our year to date is 28%. And just to show that we're not a one hit or 1 year wonder, if you go back to 2017, we're actually at 82% cumulative returns.
Great.
In terms of the names that are relevant to this space, as it happens, we have both Acuity Ads and The Score within the portfolio.
Great. Rob, thanks very much for joining me. I can't wait to have you back. We'll talk to you soon.
Very good, James. Thank you.
Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Make sure you never miss a show by subscribing to our YouTube channel and clicking on the little notifications bell. If you're interested in getting monthly actionable investment ideas in the cannabis space to your inbox, subscribe to the newsletter at midasletter.com. About 21,000. Hey everybody, how you doing? Welcome back. So Rob Goff knows a thing or two about that business.
You think, like you're talking about 5G, I mean, without the advent of this ability to take information and shoot it on here as fast as possible. In other words, if we were still 1 or 2G, you know how there's this evolution, you could never get into esports, right? Like esports requires the ability for extremely sophisticated graphics.
Well,
bandwidth, right.
The evolution of esports as a distributed player base that actually competes with each other online was only possible. I don't actually know what kind of bandwidth throughput is required, but I don't recall anybody talking about playing their friends online in video games back in 2008. Or 2010. So I think it only actually, so don't forget, 5G is only wireless protocol. Most of the stuff happens like in your house. 5G, the wireless portion of the journey is just between your computer and your router in your house. But the bulk of your bandwidth comes through a cable still, a fiber optic in the case of Bell, or coaxial cable in the case of Rogers and TELUS. But,
what's superior, Bell or Rogers?
They both suck.
Okay.
Actually, I've had Rogers at home for many years. We have one of our...
You had Roger at home? Does anybody know he's there?
Well, he's tied up in the basement, so probably not.
Bit of a gimp?
A little bit of a gimp, but we have Rogers and Beanfield here. Beanfield is by far the more reliable for the consistently... Beanfield. Did you know that the
field that grows beans?
You know that the stadium over here is called the Beanfield Stadium, don't you?
Didn't know it.
Yeah, Beanfield is actually, if you look at some of the manhole covers downtown, they say Beanfield. Beanfield is a big company. We should get them on the show. Let's get Beanfield on the show.
Okay.
But
is
Beanfield.
That vanilla Beanfield?
Beanfield provides all the mission critical broadband in the downtown core, I would say, even though Rogers isn't here, but we've had no end of trouble with Rogers, and so we have 2 gigabit connections for our show because this we consider mission critical, though I'm sure you at home don't consider it very mission critical, and certainly people in the stock market don't consider this mission critical. Yeah, it's not really necessary. Kind of a waste of time, really.
You don't say.
Once in a while they have a decent guest, but other than that, those 2 twats don't really know anything, what the fuck they're talking about. Anyways, I had an excellent conversation with a very well-known mining guy in Toronto last night over a glass of wine, and he was telling me about some of where they're exploring in a project in Quebec. They had an early winter, and so they were actually going to get a head start on winter exploration by a month thanks to the
Because the ground froze.
because they've got 3 inches of ice up there. And I thought that's interesting because it's funny how an early winter could actually catalyze a bull market in mining if, for example, they were to hit like 200 meters of 10 grams per ton gold or
If
something.
any of these mining companies have any money left to drill.
Well, mining...
That's a joke.
That's a joke?
Well, there's some companies that aren't going to be drilling next year because they blew their load
Their
last
load? What do you mean by that? That sounds like full of
year. Well,
alternative meaning.
LODE, load,
Their
the load, the mother load. Load. LODE,
Not LOAD. That's
Jay-
from eating the gay cake. Leave me alone. Jesus.
You need to wash
What's
that
wrong
cake.
with a
You need
little
to wash
load
that
and
cake-
shot all over you?
Wash that cake down.
Oh, God. Jesus, Ed.
You got
I think
Bring back that He-Man cake quickly. Ed's gonna give me up the ass here.
Anyways, hashtag don't go there. Yeah. Luckbox is up next. Luckbox is
You know
a
what a
company
Luckbox
that
is, eh?
facilitates gambling, betting on online esports. And this is the third segment in our series of the New Wave Esports show today. So check this on out, you. I'm joined now by Lars Lean and Quentin Martin, CEO and CCO, respectively, of Luckbox. Gentlemen, welcome.
Hi, James. Pleasure.
We were having a conversation just before the camera rolled about thought leaders in the esports space, and thought leadership is certainly something that appears to be in short supply in this space. Why don't you guys give it a shot and tell me if you can define what is esports for an investor in the simplest terms?
Esports are competitive computer game tournaments. They're exactly the same as traditional sports. It's like the sport you don't know. I always like to talk about cricket. No one knows anything about cricket, but they know there are teams, athletes, money, tournaments. It's the same with esports. It's just 35 years and under.
Okay, so esports is electronic games being played in tournaments.
In stadiums with fans,
Yeah.
with coaches, management, brand, merch, the full sports experience.
Sure.
It's just nascent in this for the 18 to 35,
Right.
not for the entire population.
Right. I've been following Ninja lately,
Pretty good.
and
In pajamas.
weird as it is, I feel like I have to immerse myself in the space, and it doesn't seem that there's a lot of expectation or limitation on clothing, footwear, hairdos, or anything. So I'm running with it.
Surfer culture.
Yes, exactly. Luckbox. What does Luckbox do?
In a sentence, we're a fully licensed esports betting platform.
Betting.
Yeah.
For like real betting.
Real betting. It's exactly the same as traditional sports betting. Like if you wanted to bet on the Leafs to beat the Canucks and you put $1,000 on, maybe you win $400 back.
Really?
The same model, but betting on esports.
So you're fully licensed and domiciled where?
Fully licensed, domiciled on the Isle of Man.
Oh.
One of the top licenses in the world, and we're
Right.
live today in over 100 territories.
I've never been to the Isle of Man. I've always thought I can't wait till I have a reason to visit the Isle of Man.
You're welcome.
Apart from its very fascinating history, admittedly, but its financial sort of status is of more interest to me. Okay, so sports betting. So I can bet on, for example, this next Siege 6 tournament. I can pick the teams that are playing, and I can just
Exactly the same way you can bet on the person to win the tournament outright, which team to win a particular match, who's going to get the next kill, who's going to have the advantage, what the goal lane is. So exactly the same as traditional sports betting.
Wow. How much do you guys pay for acquisition of one customer?
The industry standard at the moment is approximately $80.
$80.
Yeah.
Well, that's reasonable. And so Luckbox is not a public company.
No.
Is it going to be a public company?
There is an intent to go public next year.
Oh, very cool. Okay, so this is interesting because I know that the state of New Jersey has they've laid $3.8 billion in bets since
Yeah.
June 2018, just New Jersey.
Yeah.
And so I got to think that elsewhere in the world where sports betting has been open and underway for quite some time, that there's got to be a huge volume of available.
It's huge. So if you look at the esports industry right now, that's $1 billion US. Adjacent to it, and this is what many people don't know, there's $1 billion in esports betting sitting right next to it. This is how esports is monetized. This is why, if you look at the Premier League, almost every single club, they have gambling sponsors all over. because this is how you monetize
Yeah, right.
the audience. It's exciting for the audience. It's something everyone's, Quentin likes to say is a part of the human condition.
Sure.
People love to, to gamble.
You
They want
bet.
the game gets more exciting, right?
Yeah.
So then, can a Canadian?
Absolutely.
Log on and
So
play.
right now you can go to luckbox.com. You can register, deposit, and bet,
Really?
and play and
Right
have
now?
fun right now on your
And
mobile and your
U.S.
desktop.
citizens?
No.
No. U.S. can't.
No.
New Jersey citizens?
There are four states in the U.S. right now that have passed sports betting legislation. So if we had that license, which we don't, then you would be able to bet.
So you have to go there and get a license specifically for
Correct.
each of those jurisdictions. How hard is that?
Pretty tough.
It is?
Yeah, pretty tough. One of our colleagues who's a thought leader in the space will say there's only two types of people operating in America right now, those who are going bankrupt and those that have billion-dollar pockets and are looking to just get market share for the long term.
Interesting. Okay, so then what is your addressable audience currently?
So our license allows us to have customers in Canada, Latin America, Russia, Asia, and maybe half of Europe.
Oh, so only about 1 billion people.
Only most of the world.
So it should
No,
be okay.
the reality, the US is opening up.
Right.
It's 15 months ago since PASPA, federal prohibition on sports betting, was overturned, and the rights were given back to the states to issue their own licenses. Now we're only talking about relatively small states. It's early days. But California is going to come at some point.
Sure.
New York is going to come at some point, and that's when it starts to get really, really interesting for us to get in. But right now, the world is our oysters, so to speak.
Are you guys raising money from investors?
Yeah, we're pre-round right now, but we're looking to raise probably next week about 5 million.
Right.
5 million
Oh, that's
Canadian.
right. You guys came through Gravitas, so that's how that's right.
That's how
Okay,
we're here,
so
yeah.
I'm already involved, I suspect.
Good.
Or I'm going to be. Okay, well, this is very cool. So then, what's the biggest game that you could, what's the most exciting action for a bettor?
Wow, that's a great question. Probably the best market would be first kill. The game started. It's the same with first goal, but it's going to happen in the first few minutes. So it's a very quick reward market, and then you can bet on the next one. So you can keep chaining that cycle because you can watch all the live matches with the live streams embedded on our site and bet in real time. So,
And so, as a sort of odds-oriented mathematics individual, which I'm not, I'm going to pretend to be for 1 second, through statistically, are the skill sets of the individuals and the teams that they are members of, are they statistically consistent in terms of level of skill? I saw a basically an overview, and this guy said G2, this team had come out of nowhere, suddenly were pro, won the top tournament, and then the next tournament they finished last. It was either them or another one. I can't remember.
So in some of the games, they're absolutely the teams that are the best will be consistently at the top of the game. There some games like Fortnite, for example, where there's 100 people playing, it's much harder to consistently do well. But in most of the games, just as in traditional sports, you will get the big teams, the big franchises will consistently do well. They will be favored against whoever they're playing, etc., etc. It's a very similar setup.
But you do see that quite, to some extent. There was a Counter-Strike team called Astralis.
Yep.
They were top of the game. They were winning, ridiculous number of tournaments in a row. All of a sudden, something changed, and then they stopped being by far the best team.
Really?
So
was it a loss of an individual?
No, it was
Probably
loss of
probably
form.
loss of confidence. Yeah.
Yeah,
Really?
loss of form, loss
Maybe
of
they
confidence.
started doing the wrong drug.
Quite possibly.
That's usually biggest responsibility for change of behavior suddenly. Okay, so if I wanted to bet on esports and I don't know anything about any of the games and can't even play Pong without injuring myself,
Sure.
what would you recommend as a starting point for somebody who wants to sort of dip their toe in the water but not lose their shirt in the first go-around?
So, I would start one step earlier. I would go and find a local esports tournament that's going to be near you, maybe selling out the local arena, and go and buy a ticket and go down. That's going to get you pumped for the game. It's going to get you an understanding of what's going on. And then place a bet on whatever it is that you're watching. That betting has been proven to enhance your experience and enjoyment to something by about 60%. So go along, place a bet. Just place on one team to win. Who knows which team you're going to pick. They've got the best name, whatever it is that you like, and then go from there.
Very cool. Are you guys participating in the EGLX conference this weekend?
Not currently, but we may well go down. We'll find out if there's anything more developing.
Great. Well, we will see you there if you do. Okay, we're going to leave it there for now. We'll come back to you closer to go public date. This is a really intriguing proposition. I don't even have to ask how it makes money, which is remarkable. So we'll wish you the best of luck, and thanks very much for joining me. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Make sure you never miss a show by subscribing to our YouTube channel and clicking on the little notifications bell. If you're interested in getting monthly actionable investment ideas in the cannabis space to your inbox, subscribe to the newsletter at MidasLetter.com. Hey everybody, that was our esports edition for this Tuesday, November 19th. I hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to. Other than that, we're going to have Greg Gibson has agreed to join us as a guest on the show. He's works with mining legendary company Sprott Mining. Sprott's the investor in Canada when it comes to mining. Who else we got coming up, Edward? You don't know? I know DIY. Who knows? Oh, we're going to have Kim Rivers here from Trulieve to talk about her fantastic quarter. We're going to get to the bottom of those biological assets and see to what degree do they constitute financial engineering, or what degree should they be considered in their
it would appear it's generally accepted accounting principle. Or
Charting Man Dan is also going to be here, and
who?
Alan Brockstein is going to be here this week. So all coming up this week. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a fantastic Tuesday night. Goodbye.